Is it still a minute?
No, I did it to 30 seconds this time.
Okay.
Right.
That's good.
No swearing, please, Burge, because you're actually live. Right, let me just check these other different platforms to see where.
Yep, it's just come up on Carrot Lane.
On Substack.
Substack, sorry. Yeah.
Lovely jubbly. So much for the different format.
I see Simon live. I see me live. Perfect.
Happy days. There's a bit of a lag. Here we are. Boys, I've tried to improve the production and have a look at this flashlight. You might need your sunglasses. Have a look at that.
Oh, wow. That's
crazy. Simon's not impressed.
No, I'm getting my sunglasses now.
Right, we'll just wait for a few to join. It's going to be a really good call today because there's lots of stuff been happening. 9 in the group so far. Just to those who are joining the chat, do me a massive favor. Whatever platform you're on, please share it because it helps the algorithm. Obviously, if you're on X, repost it. And if you're on Substack or LinkedIn, please just give it a share. These streams are now getting loads and loads of viewers, which is really exciting. We're actually just speaking off air there for a second, just to say how excited we are to kind of jump on these streams because the feedback has been really amazing. We are. I don't want to put words in Simon's or Burge's mouth, but we are 3 enthusiasts who really love the space, and we love talking about these things and kind of covering trending topics. Obviously, none of this is financial advice. If you need to make a financial decision, contact someone who's financially qualified. Don't remortgage your house to put it into NFTs. What else? Don't take inheritance either and put it into meme coins.
Oh my goodness! Yeah.
Anything else we should be covering, chaps?
Just to say that I think people also to make sure they have a therapist. Well,
the space
is space.
It's about infinite regret. Like you sell, you feel like trash. You don't sell, you feel like trash. So you might,
might as well get a therapist.
Get it, yeah. Spend it on a good therapist. Chaps, just while we're waiting for a few people to join, just give us a quick update. How's your week been? What have you guys been up to? Simon, Burge.
Go for it.
Well, it's been good. It's been good. I didn't expect to see, the strategy tokens have that crazy pump. That's been really nice to see. And it's got a lot of attention online. So that was something cool. I think didn't we get information that the Fed isn't going to cut rates in December? So that's interesting. We'll talk more on that later. And personally, for me, I've been trying to organize a Veefriends meetup. I'm going with you to a WoW meetup in the next week, I think. So that's exciting. My birthday's in 2 days' time, so I'll be turning 28. So
you kept that.
Yeah. I'll be joining
20?
Yeah.
28.
I'm getting close to the magic number 30.
We're the same age. We're the same age.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting closer to you guys.
Except Simon Burge is more like Benjamin Button, mate. There's no way you're 28. I had you down as 22.
Well, but I want to.
What are you doing to celebrate?
Honestly, I have no idea. Right now, I'm just focusing about planning the Veefriends meetup and the WoW meetup.
Okay. And the Veefriends meetup is this Saturday, isn't it? Is it this Saturday? No, next Saturday.
Next Saturday. Saturday the 6th of December. That should be a good one. Hoping Simon can make it after grill him off there. See if he can make it or not.
If it was a Yuga meetup, he probably would.
Yeah. I was going to say
he's too good for Veefriends, mate.
If it was in the Nexus, he'd be there. But
I might have to because I'm feeling distraught by the fact that I can't make the WoW meetup next week. So I might have to just come along to the
Simon.
great meetup afterwards.
I had you down as moving heaven and earth to go to that one. I missed the last one. Now, obviously, because I spoke to V on a call, we had I don't know if you guys saw the call last week, but it was brilliant. It was supposed. We had a few technical issues in the beginning, and it's amazing. Like, I'm not the most technical person. I don't think V is either, but we kind of really hit it off behind the scenes, trying to get her X connected and all these sorts of things. And then the call ends up going for like an hour and a half because we were just chatting away, and she's like, "Jay, I've got to work. I've actually got a business to build here. I can't just talk to people. I just can't talk to people on X all day," which is fair enough, to be fair.
But just on that, I actually put out a little tweet afterwards to say, I keep saying tweet, a post, whatever it might be, to say that you just had a very rich discussion, didn't you? You managed to really get to a deeper level than I think a lot of the interviews or maybe things that are said on Spaces, which are great as well. But I think you got a bit further in. That was brilliant. So I think it's great you're going to the meetup as well. But
I appreciate you saying that because I put a fucking lot of work into it. I put a lot of work into researching her, because one of the things I find, I mean, the first thing is that she was she'd done a lot of interviews, and all the interviews follow the same thing. It's more around what the business is doing, and I think for a lot of people that are listening in, they want to find out more about the person. Like, I had a whole bunch of other stuff that I wanted to talk to her about, but obviously couldn't go as long as I'd wanted to. I wanted to talk about some of her adversity and entrepreneurship, some of the things she's publicly spoken about. She was at a company in New York or whatever, and they kind of let her go, and just some of her experiences around that. Obviously, it's all public information, but it was a heck of a call, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I'm just going to make sure that I'm just sharing the Spaces here, guys. For the 32 that are in here, just do me a massive favor. Please give this a share. Obviously, the more viewers we get, the more we can keep doing this, and the better the guests we can get on. Obviously, last week we had V on. I'm reliably informed that we may get Veefriends on, which would be really exciting. At some point, we shall see. Bear with me 2 seconds. I'm
trying to multitask.
Are you?
And I'm not very good at it.
No, I know, Simon. So right, I'm just gonna share this out. Guys, we've got a really good, I say show, but it's more of like a roundtable chat between friends who have been in the space for a while now. We're going to speak about NFTs, cryptocurrency, and obviously the stuff that TokenWorks are doing, which is really exciting. Obviously, the price appreciation over the last week has been really significant. I can see that smile coming on Simon's face. He's very he's very happy with what's happening over at Chimpers, which is good. And it's, I think there's something in the fact that these businesses that lean into these strategy tokens are seeing some outsized success, and it's going to be really exciting. Right, Simon, I can see you've shared it. Burge, you've shared it. Excellent. Just bear with me 2 seconds, guys. Let's just. This is why I need a techie person in the background sorting all this stuff, so we can just kind of crack on and chat. But it is what it is. So all good, guys. Welcome to this is episode 3, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, I think it is. Yes,
official. Yes. The one test stream was so successful. The test stream could have been number 1, but
to be honest, the test stream was out of this world. First thing I want to kick things off with, and I don't know if it's just the algorithm that's kind of feeding this to me. But there's been a little bit of FUD, and I don't want to start with something negative, but it is what it is, around some of the stuff that's happening in the Veefriends ecosystem. I know that, Burge, obviously you are a gift goat holder. Yes. So am I.
Well, actually, no.
You're not?
Breaking news.
When did you sell it?
My gift goat ended up selling 5 days ago.
The strategy token.
Wait, hold up. Sorry, hold up. So I listed my gift goat, thinking I'm going to put a lot of this into Punk Strategy.
Right.
But Punk Strategy was at a ridiculously low price.
Yeah.
And I felt like over the next 3-6 months, or even a year, even if it took a year for us to witness another bull run, my thoughts were I'm going to make much more on Punkster and Punk strategy at where it is now rather than the gift goat. So I felt like as much as I love Veefriends and as much as I always want to own a Series 1 and that gift goat I've held for, well, it's got to be over 3 years, right? It's over 4 years now. And it was the only token I've held, since launch. So it was a tough one, but I've had a lot of the gifts already. The last couple are being sent out, but whilst there is this possibility, and Gary even did it this year where he added extra gifts and he added this sapphire box that ended up being worth 5 to 8 grand just for free, just for all the gift goats. Even though I know that's a possibility. Yep. Even though I know that's a possibility, Punk strategy at 0.025 or 0.028 looked way too good for me. And it was also a case of right now where my portfolio has depreciated with the markets. I believe selling low isn't a problem as long as you're putting it into something else you believe in, that you believe in more, or you believe that will have higher ROI in the short or the long term. And that was really the decision for me. That's why I sold it. But yeah, it ended up selling. I had it listed, ended up selling a little bit lower than I wanted because ETH had come down quite a lot. So the dollar amount, I was actually looking initially for 17,000. Then I was looking at 15,000. Then it ended up where I was talking to someone about potentially buying it for 12,000. I had a few people message me about it. And then ETH just kept dropping and dropping. I ended up delisting mine and putting it higher at 3.7 ETH. And then ETH fell a little bit more. I didn't even really pay attention to it too much. I wasn't checking every day. So it was at about 10.5K, 3.7 ETH. And I was thinking maybe I do delist that. I'm not sure. And someone was interested in it and they were messaging me. And I said, I can't decrease it anymore. Like, it's already lower than I even want to sell it for.
Yeah.
And whilst I was at my friend's birthday event, I get the notification that it's been sold. And I was like, I go and check Punkster, and it's fucking up. It's gone up to 0.04. I would have been absolutely happy if it was still at 0.028, but that was like a day after, or like 12 hours after the rally from Chimpster and Punkster and Vibester. And yeah, so I'm a little bit annoyed, but and obviously I'm a bit antsy because I know this is a big move for me and a big play. But I'm almost secretly hoping Punk strategy has a little dip again where I can buy in, and then I'll be more than happy. I'm really confident about this play.
Can I ask a quick question, Burge? Just really, how did it feel when you finally let go? Because we're always talking about, and you say it a lot, Jayden, there's so much emotional investment in your NFTs. I mean, I've got a psychological problem. I can't actually sell. That's another thing. but how did it feel?
It was a gut punch. I feel like it was a gut punch. Like, it didn't feel right. Well, let me clarify. I'm very confident about the play that I'm about to make, and I want to make the play, regardless of if it works out or not. I believe I really connect with Gary when he talks about intuition, and I'm a big believer of follow your intuition, because if you're wrong, you'll learn, and if you're right, if you don't follow your intuition, but you were right about it. So, for example, that let's say I had the intuition I should sell my gift goat and put half of it, let's say, into Punk strategy, and I didn't follow through with that, and then Punk strategy goes to $1. It's the worst fear. It's complete regret, because I knew that was what I was thinking I should do, and I didn't follow through with it. So I always believe you should. It's a caveat, because you have to be the right type of person. A lot of knowledge and experience goes into it. But I believe even if you follow your intuition and you make the absolute wrong play, you lose everything. I believe that learning experience will still be more beneficial for you down the line. Like, you're going to take that and I'm sure you're going to make it all back and then some, and you're going to be able to do that from a position of knowing what not to do. And I'm in this position where I just always want to back myself, because I know if I'm wrong, I'll learn, but if I'm right, it'll feel really fucking good. And more importantly, if I don't follow what I believe, it'll feel awful, like the worst feeling. And I've done it a few times. For example, and you'll know this, Jayden, when me, you, and Ben were talking, I think it was post VCon 1, the market had started to dip. The market was down 40%, I think, from all-time high. Well, maybe not from all-time highs, but from the high point, the local high. It was down 40%. And we said, is this a crash? And I was like, guys, I'm going to sell everything. Everything.
Yeah.
I'm going to sell everything. Didn't end up committing to it. Obviously, it would take quite a lot of work to sell off all the NFTs and stuff. It takes you to sit down and do it over several days, probably. But it didn't end up selling everything. And, it ended up going down another 50% to where the low was around minus 80, minus 90%, right? So that was a real big regret for me. I know hindsight is 2020, but I was deadly serious. It wasn't like, guys, I'm thinking of selling everything. I was really, really thinking, like, I was really, really confident that was the right call to sell off everything, because I felt like we were at the beginning of the crash, and it ended up being a mistake. And it was one of those ones where I didn't back my intuition. I didn't commit to what I was saying. You can sometimes
you people around you,
Yeah. I have to say, I've really enjoyed this group therapy session. It's been one of the great.
Do you know, it's the first time me and Simon have just been in utter silence, just eating out of your hand, but because basically what you're saying is something that every single person has experienced. I mean, I was there with you during the time when you owned that gift go, and I think you were getting like 55 ETH offers on it. Yeah. So it's very, when people ordinarily, what they do is this price anchoring thing. They say, oh, look at what I could have sold it for. But could have, should have, would have actually make you miss the opportunity right in front of you. Now, I'm very bullish on Punk strategy. Obviously, I have a gift go and I have NFTs and these sorts of things. And I have been thinking about making some sort of rotation, because as new strategy or as these teams that have been working during the bear market lean into these strategy tokens, it adds strength to the kind of mother token, which is like the Punk strategy. And then it gets to a stage where you're like, well, there's absolutely no reason why I wouldn't do that. So I think, mate, I think you listening to your intuition, and I think your mental framework around this is brilliant. You said something right at the beginning about, it may drop down and, these sorts of things. I actually have a running theory about what is driving the price action. And you two can kind of dive in on this, which is, I think it's the distance between the floor price of CryptoPunks and the protocol, the relisted protocol token. So like at the moment, I think we're like 4 sales away from it chewing up or buying the relisted protocol token. The reason why Chimpers and Good Vibes Club did the same is because it's chewing through that protocol supply and burning their native token.
Yep.
And like someone said on the timeline, it's like the best ad for these tokens is number go up. Like when the price of the token goes up, it doesn't matter about discoverability. People will find these fucking things and they'll work it out because they want to know, or they want to be a part of something that's increasing in price. We have segued. We're
we've gone completely off the reservation.
We're like Tom Hanks off a bloody Castaway at the moment on our little rubber dinghy with Wilson the netball.
So Simon might as well tell us the dream he had about Punk strategy or token works. I mean, we might as well go all the way now.
Yeah, I know that there's an issue when I start dreaming 2 consecutive nights about token works, and then I start dreaming about actually I'm doing something within the ecosystem, which I think is an amazing revelation, and probably isn't really, although it may have been a bit of an AI check. But what it was that this thing about, and I was trying to keep it secret, and I'm not going to do it now because I'm telling you guys, but it was about this idea that you could look for abandoned NFT collections and get the contract address. When the new platform launches, I'm assuming the mechanism will be there, particularly to be able to use that contract address, and then you kickstart a strategy token off the back of that, and off it goes. And I started extrapolating about how would that be a mechanism for rejuvenating some collections, putting them back on the map. I would feel a bit like, am I stealing something and how would I know it's totally abandoned? That was the night after I was dreaming about that bit. But I don't want to do anything wrong or bad. But the idea was just this idea of actually at an altruistic level, it might be quite good to rejuvenate some collections. And then I did in my dream say something around, but how can I personally make money if I do this? and I don't know who it was talking to me in my dream, but it was saying, well, you just need to get in there early, get a real chunk of it early, and then hope for the best. And then I went down a very evil, dark path, but I thought that was but I did think that was quite an interesting idea, this notion of what it might end up doing that we haven't yet really considered. I always find that quite interesting. What are the things we haven't thought about that this might lead to?
I think you're spot on. I mean, I particularly like the way that the strategy tokens have brought people into ecosystems where ordinarily they probably wouldn't have, given how much the NFT costs. And actually this combination of both kind of like the ERC20 token and the NFT just make it this perfect thing for basically anyone at any level to enter a project and be a part of the price appreciation. Someone was saying the other day, actually, and I might be able to get the tweet, I might be able to share it on here. They were saying that it's probably the closest thing to a share, or having a share in a company, because if you think about the productivity of a business, they use the revenue to market buy their own token, and then what that is doing is generating fees to then buy the NFT, and then obviously when the NFT sells, it initiates this whole flywheel. So you kind of, in a roundabout kind of way, almost buying into the productivity of the company, provided the company is productive. And it's almost operating like a share. So it's almost operating like a share in a business. And then you start to think, well, if there are these, kind of private companies that in the future will launch an NFT project because there'll be no reason for them not to. Then if they launch an NFT project, there'll be no reason for them not to launch a strategy token. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, now people can, if you think about what people might do in the future, is like, people might speculate on the price appreciation of a company's performance. And I think in the future, it's not gonna be about roadmaps. We're not gonna go, oh, this is, remember Birds in 2021, it was like, oh, this roadmap's really amazing.
Yes.
No. The fucking creative director just really good at doing like a PowerPoint thing with loads of arrows and stuff about all the stuff they were going to do, and no one followed through with
it. People want a roadmap, I'm hearing, so let's put a roadmap together. But does it actually mean anything?
And it would pump. It just pumped on the roadmap. On complete, even if they promised something that they would never ever do, it just pumped because people are like, well, they could do it.
Yes, they're valid. Yes, let's invest.
And then I think what people did in 2021 is they kind of made a more thoughtful flight to, okay, this is about the founder. But now I think the even more thoughtful play is, oh, okay, you're launching an NFT project. Well, is the business profitable? Is the business already successful? Because what people don't want to do, and this is the mistake I made with Good Vibes Club, is I didn't want to go through 3 years of runway of watching a team raise the money, but they had already gone through that because they were already a successful business, which is the thing I didn't know about on the timeline, because they had this fucking secret Discord and they were messaging like boots on the ground, like directly messaging people. We have gone so far off course here.
Yeah.
The start of this, and I love it. It's good. The one thing I will say, just to reset the room, guys, there are 72 in here. I had shared the Carrot Lane website in the description, which I think has actually just stopped the reach of the stream. So if you could do me a massive favor, you could just repost it. I'd really appreciate it. And obviously, while the link's there, if you want to subscribe free to Carrot Lane, I'd really appreciate it. You'll get all of the written content, recordings of the calls straight to your inbox, which would kind of mean a lot. Burge, I want to circle back to a lot of the stuff that's covering the timeline at the moment around Veefriends.
Yeah.
There's a lot of spaces going on. People not really happy with the is it the treasure chest that people got to claim with the gift code?
Yeah,
do you want to put some more meat on the bones with what's happening? Simon, I will bring you in a second, my friend.
No. I'm a useful outsider or a useless one. I don't know.
You're the wise one, my friend.
Let me just grab. See if I can do it.
So there's quite a lot of conflicting views or something.
Yeah, so
right?
I think look, I think the great thing about Veefriends, in my opinion, is that there's a lot of the holders that live the values of the brand. So there's kindness, there's empathy, there's patience, there's all of these values that they try and replicate. But in my opinion, the project, because there's a load, there's a load of people who are kind of Burge, I'm going to add that on in a second, who show all of these traits like empathy and kindness and all these sorts of things. But what that ordinarily attracts, in my opinion, is a handful of narcissists who kind of play off of that and have this tendency to kind of complain about things. But I won't steal Burge's thunder here. I'll let him dive into it. Burge, can I add it to the screen?
Yes. Yeah.
Nice.
So I think someone who's been most vocal about this has been Tim. Tim Livingston, big community member in the Veefriends community, has really been pushing for Veefriends to do more. Veefriends launched something called, basically they launched this initiative, or they didn't launch it, they announced this initiative of kind of Veefriends for teachers and trying to get Veefriends into schools in the US. And Tim is a teacher himself, so he was really passionate about that, really wanted that to happen, was super excited about the news. And for a few months, there hasn't really been anything. It's not been launched. It was announced, but nothing's kind of really happened with it. And I think he grew a little bit frustrated and was kind of trying to G them up on that side of things. And then we come to, so that's a little bit of context of where Tim, he might be feeling some frustrations already. But it's not just Tim with this. When we talk about Treasure Chest, so Treasure Chest is a product that Veefriends have just launched. It's another physical product, and it's a very premium product. There's only 4 items in it. You can get collectible coins or medals, they're called, and some of them can be like 1 ounce of pure silver or 1 ounce of pure gold, even, which is like $4,000 worth. There's only 5 of those in all of the boxes. I think there's 5,555 boxes, and as I said, in each box you get 4 items. You could get a pin, like a highly collectible pin. You could get a very limited super sticker. You can get a coin or a medal. You can get a piece of hand-drawn. You can get a card which is hand-drawn by DJ Kaufman, the director, the creative director of Veefriends. So that's this product, and what I think Tim and some other people in the community are feeling, and it's definitely a split for sure. It's not necessarily that the whole community is feeling this way, but they're feeling a little bit of fatigue, buying fatigue, I would say. So with these products, a lot of the times, Veefriends the community is so passionate, they want to buy up every single drop. every single new drop, they want to at least buy a box. And I think what people are coming to, and even I can kind of relate a little bit and also sympathize with this kind of like where they're coming from, is this kind of fatigue of like, well, I can't afford to buy the new drop maybe, or I'm not so sure if buying the new drop is a good play. Like a lot of people, because they follow Gary, are used to flipping things, right? So maybe they don't even want the drop for themselves, but they want to buy it so they can flip it for a profit. Well, I think there was a lot more speculation. There was a lot more uncertainty, about this drop and whether that it was flippable, whether there was a real opportunity to flip it for a profit, or whether there maybe wasn't enough demand for it. What I saw personally when I was in the Whatnot stream of it being announced by Gary and Adam Rips, was I saw a lot of excitement. I saw a lot of people interested in buying the product. And actually, Gary and Adam were almost saying, hold up, like, we're going to offer it to the gift goats and the specs and the access holders first. And then we're going to offer it to the Series 1 holders and then the Series 2 and then public sale. And they were like, hold up, it might not even get to Series 2 holders, let alone the public sale. So it was almost a bit disappointing for some people because they wanted to get involved, but they didn't hold any Veefriends NFTs. But what actually transpired was after that stream, there were a couple people like Tim who were upset. I mean, the stream had been kind of earmarked and it'd been titled as this alpha stream. So we were expecting something big, and I think some people like Tim were feeling a little bit sold to. They were feeling like, oh, it's just another product that I have to buy. Even if I have an NFT, I have to buy it. I think the only caveat to that is if you had a spectacular of a certain character that was included in the set, you would actually get a free box. But for everyone else, you would have to spend money on it. Now, gift goats and the specs and the access holders, they were getting a discounted rate, and so were the Series 1 holders. So, but people still felt sold to. And so what we saw was, as you said, a lot of spaces with a lot of people tuning in. I mean, Tim ran a space that had 500 odd people tuned in. He ran another space a day or two after that had about 300 people. And I think Tim has run spaces in the past, but these are big spaces. So they definitely had a lot of community members joining. I think they even probably had, Jeremy from the Veefriends team joining as well. And then he ran a space recently, and that had like 60, 80 people. So it's definitely been the hot topic, let's say, for Veefriends over the last week or last few days at least, has been this talk of, well, did we need another product? I mean, don't forget, they just came out. They just announced and pre-sold a new product just like a few weeks before this, which was the Super Sticker release. Yeah. So it almost felt a little bit too back to back, if that makes sense. It was a bit too one after the other, and it felt a bit too, especially with Christmas coming up. I saw this conversation of kind of, people, as it gets closer to Christmas, the finances get a little bit tighter, and it was almost like, they were trying to sell these two premium collectibles, so it didn't sit well with some people for sure.
Simon, you've been a part of the Yuga ecosystem. I'm sure they've done merch drops and these sorts of things. Have you got any thoughts on?
Well, just listening to what we were saying, it's interesting when you're coming at from completely an outsider's point of view. I suppose the first thing is people. I mean, maybe this is being very simplistic. Obviously, people don't have to buy things. That's one thing. But secondly, I always think to myself, what's the real thing going on here for people? Above and beyond everything else, what's really driving the disquiet in someone? And it's often something slightly bigger, and it could be like I really want to be part of this all the way through. I don't want to miss out. But I feel like I'm not being given the chance to be part of this because it's too costly. I don't, and so their value is so entrenched in always being on this continuous journey and not losing out here and here and here. And so it has you have an emotional response to it, don't you? And you then start feeling things like things are unfair, people are not being thoughtful, and so those trigger your own values that you have. If you're
that's
particularly
100%.
keen on that kind of stuff.
That is spot
Simon,
on.
Simon, you're so smart, mate.
Can I just say, I've just been coaching someone about, because I do a lot of work in communication and why people are doing what they do, and it's behavioral stuff. And I just think it's always really interesting when and I think it's good for yourself as well, just to backtrack and go, why am I particularly triggered by this particular
what's leading to the behavior?
It was a strong reaction from Tim, like based on this, and you hit the nail on the head. It was that reason, and I think he was hoping that the alpha would be something more, towards, as I said before, the Veefriends for Teachers initiative that he was so passionate about, and the alpha was him buying a product that he couldn't really afford to buy, and then maybe there was a little bit of FOMO in that, in terms of, well, what happens if I don't buy this product and then it does really well and I've missed out on, like I can't afford to take this risk.
And hearing what you said about the teacher thing, it makes you think that maybe for him, his value set is more sort of an altruistic thing. We want to get into schools. We want to be working with teachers. It's about community. It's about building that. And that goes slightly against my, why is attention going on? Let's just make some money out of people. Even though none of that necessarily is correct. It's
that's the question with Veefriends is, well, on the Veefriends side of things, they would say, well, we've had such successful drops. We need to put more product out there so that it actually ends up getting into the people's hands that want to buy it. And so Veefriends, I think, obviously, from a business point of view, they need to make money as well. So that's one side of it. Yeah. But the other side of it is actually tactically, I think Gary's thinking about, well, getting more physical collectibles out there is growing the brand. That is growing the brand. But it didn't align with what Tim saw as growing the brand. Like, he thought another product release wasn't growing the brand really, and he felt like the community were just being sold to. So it was kind of like this kind of mismatch of this misalignment of kind of what you feel growing a brand is.
Do you think they could have, certainly for the gift card holders, do you think they could have done it for free?
Yeah,
they could have done
honestly,
it for free.
I think
because I think that the vast majority of gift card holders are underwater. I think
not Burge anymore.
I'm out.
No, he's put glosses. So
I have.
No, I don't know if you have. I was only just making it up.
No, but
I think Tim, the way he's come across on social media, I think he's kind of he's been really positive.
Yes,
just given his personal opinion, and quite ironically, Simon, he is a school teacher, so it's interesting. Yeah. So he's but then obviously you get into spaces, and I think there's a certain section of I guess people who kind of revel in the negativity and kind of trying to pull down every negative aspect of it. My opinion is, I kind of pull from both directions with it, which is it's a premium product, and what Gary's trying to do is create a premium brand. When you give things away for free, you cheapen the brand. It's like, for example, there's some high-end brands that don't give their clothing away to the homeless. I know that sounds like an awful thing, but or they don't give it away to charities because there's this kind of like brand perception that so there might be an element of this of, if you give something away for free, does it cheapen that element of the brand? I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking that out loud. But
I think there's a conversation for that.
Yeah. I mean, I did listen to Jeremy, and I think one of the gripes with the community is that they hadn't really heard from the founder, because Gary's had this thing where he's gone silent.
Yes.
However, I try and have a balanced view with this, and Simon, you could probably come into this, which is, it might just be a Web3 thing. It's like, if you were a disgruntled customer of insert whatever brand, would you expect the founder or owner to jump on a Spaces call and explain why they did a certain thing? Or Would there be that expectation?
Well, no, I don't think it would, and I think it's a positive thing in a way about what NFTs are all about and the community, because we're one step closer to the team, aren't we? We feel really, really aligned, close. We have that value, and therefore it's a double-edged sword, really. You know, it's great when you've got that beautiful support from a community and it feels close up to you as a leader, I'd imagine. But equally, because people are so close up, they want you in all contexts. I want you in the bad times, the good times. I need you to show up. And that, for some people, that can help. Whereas, as you say, in other organizations, it just doesn't, they didn't expect that. They expect connection, though, and contact, but not necessarily from the person who's the
I think
heading everything up.
It's no wonder that you've had some really good founders kind of just disappear, because it's the open scrutiny. Because a big part of business is trying things. Like, you've got to testing. Like, look at this live stream. Like, I've tried putting the website in. It's reduced the reach. We know not to do that next time. But I'm just gonna. Simon, I'm gonna do the shameless plug anyway. I can see you smiling. Guys, if you could go to Carrot Lane, just the link above, put your email address in. You'll get all the recordings, all the writing, all the content straight to your inbox. I'd really appreciate it. Bert, you've got something to share with us, I think.
Yeah, wait, give me 2 secs. Drop us a repost, for sure, on the lives. But yeah, I wanted to showcase 2 things here. So one, I'm not going to play the video, but it's essentially Gary was on Bloomberg. And he was talking about alternative investments. Now, I think this is a good segue because, well, maybe not this will be a segue, but another thing to kind of add into this conversation about maybe why he's pushing collectibles so much is because he believes there's a wider narrative here, that collectibles are going to be this next big pillar of spending for a lot of people. And maybe that's why he's viewing, like, you know, these premium drops, as he's almost thinking that these could be very good opportunities for the community as time goes by into the longer term. I mean, there was the idea of, you know, specs, gift holders, access token holders. They all had the opportunity to buy a sealed case of this treasure chest product. It was they were the only group that were able to buy a sealed case, and there was this kind of, they were talking about the potential of buying a sealed case and just holding it, and that potentially being a good investment. But this is something that I really think, you know, could segue us to a new topic. Really interesting, and away from Veefriends. Now, this is from Beanie, who, you know, ruffles a few feathers, to say the least. But I think the tweet is a very good tweet, which is bringing the attention to Damien Hirst collection. I don't know if you were familiar with it back in the day, but Damien Hirst launched a collection where basically you could keep the digital artwork or you could burn it to receive a small physical version of the artwork. And right now, though that they minted at $2,000, right now the digital, the NFT, is worth around the same, around $2,000, 0.7 ETH. You can see there on Beanie's screenshot. And physical is actually at 14,000. Now, I don't believe you can still burn to receive the physical. I think there was an expiration date where you had to have burned by. And what Damien Hirst did was, if you hadn't burned by that time, he destroyed all of that physical print that was tied to your NFT.
Right.
And likewise, for anyone that did burn, obviously burning meaning, you know, you destroyed the NFT to receive the digital. But really interesting there that the physical is much, much higher than the digital. Obviously, it makes quite a lot of sense because we're in a bear market for NFTs. But really interesting to track this one as an NFT bull run could be on the horizon or could happen within the next, 12, 24 months. If we see an NFT bull run, I'd really like to come back to this because I have a funny feeling that over the long term, the digital will outperform the physical. But I know a lot of people who think the other way around, that physical, that especially and one of the conversations that was made was that Damien Hirst is more known for producing physical art, and maybe this would have been completely different if it was an X copy that was more digital native.
Definitely. I mean, that whole thing about, just very briefly to say, you know, that whole thing about collectibles, interesting to see that some of the collections, like Chimpers and whoever it might be, Claynosaurs, for example, are really, I think, putting an emphasis on the physicals as well as, and you know, the physical collectibles. But the perfect thing has got to be the fusion of both, hasn't it? The digital and the physical. That meeting point is where maybe that magic happens as well, you know, for people.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you, and not to kick the bones out of Veefriends, I just really like what he's doing with both. Like you know, people resonate with the Topps Chrome cards, and they've been collecting them for years. But little do people know is that the rookie cards of the Veefriends is actually the Series 2, and then there's another earlier one, so it's got this whole provenance piece to it. And I think if you know, there's some stat out there that like people under the age of 22 don't know the difference between physical or digital. So they don't know the difference between physical.
It's a bit of an issue.
Yeah, but they notice it, but they don't mind it in the way I guess us old boys do.
I see what you mean. Yeah. So
like you know, the conversations I have with people who are like, you know, my age or above or whatever, they'll say, well, you know, you can't actually hold it, like. You know, and then there's this funny meme.
Yes,
there was this funny meme going around, like the guy's getting interviewed in like a police meeting, and it's like, are the NFTs in the room with you?
I love that. Yeah,
like are these? Or and then they did it with meme coins. They're like, oh, are these meme coins in the room with you?
I know.
Or they're in the room now. So it's like, it's actually just, you know, I think those early 20s will come into their spending years and they won't really know the difference. And then who knows, maybe physical stuff does fade out because there's a lot of disadvantages to physical stuff. You know, it's like you talk about his physical work. Like if I'm an owner of his physical work, the only time you're going to see that is on my wall in my living room.
Exactly.
Versus actually I get to socially signal this on social media. So
exactly.
I was going to say as well, for me, this is weird because I've never been into the physical collectible thing particularly, but really weirdly, the two things I do have, well, one thing I have is a World of Women print in a frame signed by Yam Kaki at the time, who the artist, and weirdly having it on my wall like a nerd downstairs in the sitting room means that it's even less likely I'm going to sell my digital version of it, that particular World of Women, because I'm sort of thinking I can't betray that. But it's also something about just I'm even more attached. And funny enough, just on a really simplistic level, the Chimpers and Other Side collab, and with the rise of the hybrid, the one that they're minting at the moment, which hadn't even occurred to me. I went and minted looking for, what would I get? Digital version of the card, and then it gives you an option, which I might to get a physical version of it. And I thought for the first time, well, actually that would be really nice. Actually, I really like the idea. If I like that card, I actually quite like the idea of that physical. So I just wonder whether they both enhance each other and they both create an even stronger connection to the collection. I think
you could be right. I want to just segue into another subject. Like we have jumped around a lot, but I love it. There's a lot of chatter on the timeline between this cycle being over, and people thinking that no, it's driven by liquidity, and we've got more liquidity coming. There's another train of thinking that is along the lines of, well, no, the memetics of people believing that there is a 4-year cycle means that people ordinarily at this stage in the cycle sell out of the market for 12 months. And human nature is something that's very hard to change. Like if someone believes something to be true, it doesn't really matter what liquidity is in the market. So you got these two competing forces: the memetics of people believing there's a 4-year cycle, and the fact that actually financial conditions are going to improve and potentially people are going to have more money in their pockets to buy these assets. Where do you guys sit with that? And what I'll do is I'll lead into a video, a really interesting one with Chris Beniski and Raoul Pal, and they talk about their kind of selling framework. But what are your kind of thoughts on that?
I think from my perspective, I think things have changed. I think what I was reading something about this the other day, and they were saying what's also happened, that whole thing about self-fulfilling prophecy. We think it's the time to sell, but actually what some people are saying is that has applied to the real Bitcoin OGs, where they've got that cycle in their mind and they have reached a point, where really it's time this cycle to take some profits. And because that might have happened en masse, what I was reading about was saying, well, then there's almost like a new tranche of investors coming in. Not saying that there's people who didn't retain anything and won't buy in later, but there is something new happening, a new shift. And maybe therefore all bets are off when it comes to future cycles with this. Maybe the less people who are predicting and living by that cycle narrative there are, and the newer, fresher people coming in at a time when obviously institutions are investing and things are changing anyway. I do feel, and I think I said it last week I just feel we're on a continuum now. I think there will be
like your
ups and
take on
downs. I think things have shifted enough, so there will be ups, there will be downs, but maybe it will be useful for people to not think in those cycles. It may change the emotional response to it, the intellectual response to it, and the investment response to it. That's kind of my general thinking. And just on the side, clearly, when Wall Street are in, there's going to be manipulation. That's something that someone I follow, Simon Dixon, has talked a lot about. He said, he used to have the whales manipulating everything. He said, well, there's a new whale. There's new whales in town, and they're even bigger. And they've got an invested interest to bring things down because they weren't in early enough the first time. So they want to bring the prices down. We
went through that phase with JP Morgan.
Yes,
I can't even remember the guy's name. He was like, Jamie Dimon. He was saying he was on CNBC or whatever channel it is in the States, calling Bitcoin a pet rock, while his investment fund was buying the stuff up. Now, obviously, because they didn't come under SEC rules, it's not even market manipulation because, obviously, had the last administration trying to crush crypto. So you are right, but the thing is, there's actually nothing you can do about it. It's just kind of one of these things.
And just one last thing, Jayden, on that, just while it's on my mind, because I know we're going to move on, is that Simon Dixon, who is a Bitcoin OG, very big early investor in Coinbase, Kraken, everyone, he is the real deal. And he also talks a lot of sense. And he talks about, the way to ultimately maintain Bitcoin in an upward trajectory is self-custody and enough decentralized ownership so that the short-term manipulation, the big whales, Wall Street, they can enact that. They can make that happen. But his argument is long-term, they can't, because if there's enough decentralized self-custody ownership, even though there will be ups and downs, it's going to be on the upward trajectory. And his argument is just try not, if you possibly can, to sell out all your Bitcoin to really big players because they'll have more power over manipulation. But I love his thesis that short-term manipulation will always happen. You can't control that. Long-term, it's heading one way if we all do it together and we stick together with this. I think that's a great.
In other words, what he's saying is don't sell.
Don't sell, mate. Hold on to it. Self-custody.
I just want to shout out Digital Tomato, who's the new CM at World of Women. She's just shared our space. Really appreciate it. Obviously supported the live streams that we've been doing. And it's good to see we've got a nice little community brewing around World of Women. I've got Chris in the comments who said, it'll be interesting to see what the market structure bill will do. Curious to see what impact on NFTs and the broader crypto market. I'm hoping this provides clarity for founders and therefore more options to bring value to holders. Yeah, I think that's probably a good point. And Tomato has said, thank you. Thank you for supporting the live streams, really. And thank you for sharing it. I want to kind of circle to this video that I saw this week. Brilliant interview with Raoul Pal and Chris Beniski. And they basically talk about their kind of selling framework and actually just managing emotions. So what I want to do is I just want to hit play quickly. And we just listen to this because this is brilliant.
Yep.
It's, hopefully this works.
Because most people never buy the lows, right? That's, you know, we both were pounding the table back in the lows, but most people haven't bought the lows. So they buy sometime in 2023 or 4 and they're not up, they're flat.
Yeah.
And that's really hard psychologically to take chips off the table when you're flat and all your hopes and dreams are in this trade. So I can see why everybody's agonizing because it's difficult.
Yeah. You know, and people will discount, you know, at least me for having venture entries, but a lot of my entries are public market entries alongside everyone else.
Yeah, your Solana was, you know, fantastic. And that was a public entry and done publicly in front of everybody.
Yeah. And then, you know, I think, you know, for anyone that I'm helping on a personal basis enter crypto assets, I just always tell them if they come out flat in their first cycle, that's a win because they learn so much in that process and they go through the agonizing volatility. And so if someone is, you know, flat and having learned a ton, then that's a win. And that's really how I would think about it. Now, you know, if they're flat at these levels, you know, I can see how that would be difficult, you know, and one framework I've been encouraging people to use, and these are just friends, you know, and people I care about that have their own portfolios. And when we have conversations, I try and share the best frameworks I can. One of the things I've been using is, okay, let's say you sell here, right? How are you going to feel? How good are you going to feel if it goes down versus how bad are you going to feel if it goes up? Now, let's say you don't sell. If you don't sell, how good are you going to feel if it goes up versus how bad are you going to feel if it goes down? And use that quadrant because you can compare the good and the bad feeling for opposite actions and opposite market moves. And you don't want to be too emotional, but for me, I think it helps people think about where they would experience more emotion or remorse or regret to just anticipate that future reality so that they don't do something stupid in the future.
And I think for a rational investor.
So that's
love it.
I thought that was really fascinating because there's no like technical analysis on any of this. A lot of this is driven by people's emotions. And I thought that was such a good mental framework. And actually, it brings me back to the beginning of the call, Burge, when you were talking, and I know you probably haven't seen that video.
No, I haven't.
You were basically just doing intuitively what he is saying. I mean, this guy's one of the biggest VCs in the space. He market bought Solana at some ridiculously low price when it first came onto the market. I think in 2014, he was skint, which in UK language means very poor. I think he had about 10 grand in his bank account. He then goes on to do some research or crypto analysis for ARK Invest, which is Kathy Wood's investment firm. And then obviously, so he's a very smart, switched on guy. And here you've got Raoul Pal, who's like one of the top voices in the space, who says he's inspired by this guy. So now I'm thinking, okay, we better fucking listen to him. I mean, do you have any thoughts on what he said about like kind of managing the emotion side of it? Because I think that's actually a really good mental framework. Because I think, you know, going back to your gift goat, Burge, like you've played both sides of that quadrant. Okay, how bad am I going to feel if this gift goat goes up? Well, actually, you're going to be all right because you've held on to the fucking thing from 60 ETH to 5. So you're not. How bad are you going to feel if Punk Strategy goes up and you haven't dived onto that? Or how will you feel on a remorse level if Punk Strategy drops and
Yes.
you've now sold out of your gift goat to buy Punk Strategy.
Yeah, which
and
is my conviction play.
Correct. And now your gift goat has gone up. I think you might be okay because there's 555 gift goats and you can always catch up.
Yes.
You know?
Yep.
So, and also the other thing that's in play, just while it's in my head, is that if your Punk Strategy goes up, there's always the trade back into the fucking gift goat.
Exactly.
So I just while I'm on it, and I'll bring Simon into this one as well, because I know he's got some brilliant thoughts on this. But Burge, just tell me, was that your sort of thinking with that? Because I know you haven't seen that video.
Yeah, I haven't seen that video, but no, I think a lot of people can learn a lot from that guy, and I think a lot when I'm looking at the timeline, especially, feels like people are really taking the wrong end of a stick and doing things. They're not thinking through their action. I see a lot of people, selling it out when they're down 90%, and I get it. Like I get why they would be in that state, and maybe they need the money at that point, but a lot of the times it doesn't even feel like that. You're 100% right. I mean, I think the hardest thing would be, having held the gift goat for so long, if it were to really rise significantly back up to, let's say, I don't know, 20 Ethereum, would be a hard pill to swallow. In my head, though, I kind of see it as, what if for a gift goat to go back to crazy levels, or even halfway, or even a third of the way to the crazy levels that we once saw in 2021, then that would have to mean an NFT bull run and probably a crypto bull run as well. And if both those things happen, then, well, the strategy tokens are going to fly. They're going to fly completely. Like if there's an NFT bull run, Punk Strategy and these other strategy tokens are going to completely go off the rails. So my thinking was just, the upside on Punk Strategy was a lot higher than the upside on the gift goat. And if the gift goat ends up going to, let's say, 5 Ethereum or 8 Ethereum over the next couple months, yes, I wouldn't be too worried about that, too sad about that. Punk Strategy right now, like at the prices it is like 0.04, or when it was 0.028, I really feel like the downward, like, I don't think there is much downward pressure. As in, I don't think it really can fall that much more. And I'm just so
famous last words. Someone touch wood quickly.
True. But with the token works, with them coming out with their new platform, as we talked on a little bit earlier, the way Adam has kind of brought knowledgeable people to help run the business, just the whole kind of packaging of it now, it actually feels, if anything, it feels a lot even more professional and even more well done than. I've been, I invested a little bit back when you did a stream, Jayden. And back then, I mean, from what TokenWorks was back then, which was really Adam's project, Adam's kind of experiment, to what it is now, it looks, it's night and day. It's almost like this company, I wouldn't even be surprised if this company got listed on the stock exchange in a few years. Like, that's how crazy. I'm not saying it will be, but I'm saying, like, that's how crazy of a shift it has been from one man's experiment to how well done it is now. How official.
I think it's interesting. He gave away his rake for the portion that the new NFT projects got. So he directed that towards Punk Strategy because he knew it'd help the entire ecosystem. I think that kind of altruism helps him, makes people believe in him. And I think he's kind of iterated as he's gone along. I think on day 1, there was an exploit. Day 8, there was another exploit. But he's kept on listening to the community. The only thing I would kind of say is this is an attention game. And in the initial phases of this, is probably the most fragile. Is I would be targeting the NFT projects that have the most amount of community members. We just saw another viral video with Murad saying, just crypto is just communities. They're just community tokens. Like, You got a whole bunch of XR people who are saying about the Swift banking and blah blah blah. It actually doesn't matter. It's like there's a community of people around this token saying it has value, and therefore it does. Sam, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, I think on the punk strategy and the token works, I'm hearing more bigger or newer voices, bigger influencers talking about it. So I do think what he can do to promote and create exposure is important. I am noticing more people talking about it, so it feels quite organic as well. Just going very briefly back to that brilliant, simple, clear model that was being talked about to gauge, your investments and how you approach things and whether you sell or you don't. I think with almost anything that's worth considering and utilizing, the moment you can articulate it clearly and take it back to the very fundamentals, you're onto a winner. So that, immediately when I saw that, I thought, got it immediately. What I think it is important to say about that is that when you strip everything back, your responses almost always come back to getting in touch with actually your emotional response in that moment. It goes back to that thing we're talking about with Veefriends and about why people are getting upset about things. It's usually back down to something much more fundamental. There comes a point when the brain's no longer useful. And you've got to strip it all back to actually, I recognize that all the intellectualizing I'm doing and the reasoning is also being driven by my emotional response to things. So if you can find a way of gauging it, when you were talking through that model, I was thinking, I'm immediately starting to feel, my way through what he was saying. And it made me think immediately, actually, I would rather take the money and live to fight another day than. So I was thinking, what kind of person am I based on what he's saying? And that was a realization. So for me, I guess what I'm saying ultimately is the emotional response is such a huge part of this. And I put something out on X where I had a photograph, I don't know if you saw it, where it's two guys holding up a phone which has Bitcoin $90,000 on a chart. The first photograph says it's all over, and the second photograph says we're so back. And it's exactly the same flipping price. The same chart. And that, and I kind of want to say, we're like a coiled spring of hope and fear in this space, and any tiny trigger and we're off. And actually, I've got less of a problem with the price going up and down because I really believe in the long term of it. What I've got more of a problem with is people going berserk either way. I find that more stressful when I go on X than the price going up.
It's funny you say that because that's actually the other thing that he was speaking about. He said, look, if you go to any asset manager, they give you some combination of the two spectrums. So it's either bullish, but slightly bearish, or it's bearish but slightly bullish, or it's some combination of the two, or it's confident or bearish short term but confident medium term, or it's kind of like it's in the nuance of the detail rather than this. But people want absolutes like, oh no, we're going to the moon, or it's all over. And I think, and I've said it often, is that the answer to these things is kind of somewhere in the middle. And I knew I'd like your take on that, Simon, because you're very thoughtful, certainly around the thinking around some of this stuff. And I think, my fear, listening to stuff in the private chat and all these sorts of things, is that people make these absolute decisions based on reputable influencers and people who have strong voices in the space. Ansem saying stuff like, I'm selling out of crypto completely because it's the end of the cycle. I know Beanie was saying a few things like that.
Beanie's been funding the whole fucking thing. Like,
he said crypto is a bunch of bullshit.
He said NFTs are a fad. It's like he's basically just thrown it all off.
Life's a fad.
It makes me but it makes me think that he's just trolling, and then people got to kind of
think his account's been sold. That's how bad it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think people got to read between the lines of these sort of things. And the thing is like, you know, what if you're right? Let's look at history. I did that stream with Bren the other day, which was brilliant. He's like, look, the last bear market we had, 2022, we had FTX, Luna collapse, we had Silicon Valley banks collapsing and them getting bailed out. It couldn't have been anywhere. Solana went from $247 to $8. That bear market lasted 6 months. So let's say you're right. Let's say you go, okay, no, you guys are talking a bunch of bullshit. You know, we don't think that because no one really knows what the outlook's going to be.
No, I agree.
What if you're right? But the answer's in the nuance, because you can be right and be wrong, because you can be right for 2 months, but then screw up in Q2 next year.
Totally.
Because then it goes to Valhalla, and then you're like, okay, well, now what? You know, it's just it doesn't.
And I love what you said, Jayden. You posted something about. You said a couple of times, people, it would be really useful if people stop talking in absolutes, like expressing an opinion like it's a universal truth.
Yeah.
And you know, truth is, life's not black and white. It's messy. It's grey. It's nuanced. You know, and maybe there just needs to be a little bit more of a maturer kind of approach to, and people just reflecting, saying, do you know what? I'm just getting, this is an emotional response.
Yeah.
Just take a moment, take a beat. You know,
But it looks like you've got something that you want to share with us, my friend. I don't know what that is.
Yeah. So we were touching on it a little
Do you
bit
want me to the stage
earlier, but
are you taking us into another segue here, because this is jumping?
No. I'm touching on something we were discussing a little bit earlier around strategy tokens.
Guys, you can tell we don't have a production team, but we are progressively getting better at this. And it'll be good.
I'm going to have to figure out a way to share this a bit cleaner, because I don't know why. I can't just
zoom in on it. Can you zoom in on your screen?
I can. I mean, no.
Oh,
I saw a bit then. Text.
Oh, because at the moment I need my magnifying glass, mate, and this is not good.
Well, basically,
I can see a few things. Yeah.
All this is saying is just OpenSea announcing. You know, I think it was a week ago today that more strategy tokens are being added to OpenSea, because obviously a lot of these Punk strategy has been on OpenSea for a long time, but some of these other ones you couldn't buy through OpenSea. You had to go through the NFTstrategy.fund website. You talked about there being an exploit and them having to fix it on day 1 and then on day 8. Well, here's something that kind of came out of left field, which was kind of an update that they rolled out last week. And basically, they said that a challenge we faced was that strategies constantly overpaid for NFTs. Now, they fixed that, in my opinion, but they basically said that they've put a new change where fees are now added in more gradually. And so it will result in more Ethereum being around for future buys. I mean, I don't know if that was really necessarily or not, but it's not just applying to all new strategy tokens, but they've also retroactively applied it to the likes of the non-legacy ones. So anything like Chimpers, Goblin, Checks, Max Payne, Xcopy, Good Vibes Club, etc. So that's it's been retroactively applied to them. I mean, I don't really know how that makes sense though. Like how do fees how are they added slowly? Like I said, slowly even after the initial launch.
Is that not the thing they implement, where they buy it slowly so people can't front run the NFT? Is that what they're talking about?
No, it's completely different to that, because this was only last week, whereas that thing that you just mentioned there, that was a few weeks or
I don't know if that token works site is lagging. I think that's one area of the thing that I would.
Oh yeah, maybe. And the other thing I wanted to touch on was just, obviously we spoke about this a lot in our private chats, and it was put a lot on the timeline. But Punk Strategy acquired a Punk. Obviously we know that he acquired it. It was 5 days ago now, but that got a lot of attention as well. And that actually do we think that was the thing that started the pump for Punk Strategy and Chimp? Well, I mean, Chimp Strategy and Vibe Strategy were pumping almost on their own, right? So, but Punk Strategy might have kicked off based on after this Punk was acquired, or did it kick off and then the Punk was acquired? Not sure.
Simon,
Good
I know you've
question.
got some. I know you've got some really good thoughts on, and this is a nice little another segue into like the Vibester stuff and the Chimper stuff. I have some personal thoughts on that. I did the data and did a tweet on it. The tweet actually went viral. One of my few ones that actually did very well. But but I looked at the data and there was 375,000 punk strategy burned, and there was no CryptoPunk sale. But what was happening is the chimpers and the good vibes were chewing up. The floor price was increasing, which was chewing up or buying the protocol tokens and then burning. But it was the rake that was burning the punk strategy one, and that's from 2 projects doing well.
Yes.
Imagine if you get like 20 doing well or 50 do, it just becomes an absolute no-brainer. But yeah, did you have any thoughts on that? Because I'm quite vocal.
Well, first of all, I finally managed to make the effort, or no, get over my psychological problem and sell some. And I feel terrible even saying this, Chimpster, because I had a lump sum and it went up ridiculously. And in our private chat, I was saying, what about my idea about my cellmates? Can someone help me? And because I really need some help selling. And you know what? First of all, just on that, it really does help for people to hold you up a bit more accountable. If you're gonna, now I've looked back, I've gone, it was obvious I should have sold a bit. I would kept a big chunk of it, and I will buy some more. But what I want, on that note, with Chimpers and with Good Vibes Club, I need to look a little bit more at the very specific elements of what they're doing differently. I know it Chimpers, it involves the dojo, and there's a cycle, this process going on, but they are both doing something because they're so engaged by this and so over it that you can see their activity, their approach to their own token is reaping rewards. It's doing stuff. And as you rightly say, if more people were doing that, that will be feeding into the punkster as well. That will be creating this flywheel of flywheels into punkster. So I'd love to know a bit more about what they're doing that others could follow now when the next platform launches, what they could learn from those 2 particular teams.
I mean, the thing that stands out to me is they're both revenue generating businesses. So it's like they've got a self-sustained revenue model out that sits outside of royalties. So then you're like, So then you're like, oh, okay. So they can sustain it and they can market by their own token with whatever profits, I guess, the business is generating. Yeah. Now, this is going to be a lot harder for NFT projects that don't have that. A company that just launches solely as an NFT project and uses it almost like a crowdfunder to then on the back end turn it into a business to generate revenue is a lot. I think that's going to be a harder route and a harder sell for businesses, but there are ways to skin the cat.
I was going to say that.
Drew Austin, who's a big VC in the space, we had a great conversation. He was saying, look, these collections just have too much supply. There should be a mechanism. Goblin Town, I don't know anything about their revenue structure, but they're burning their NFTs. So he thinks that if they you could do it in such a way that it buys the protocol token, but then it burns the NFT. But obviously I'm not the most technical person. Obviously, then it's got to somehow burn the actual strategy token and add value in this kind of fair launch way. I mean, did you have any thoughts on that, Burge?
I mean, I've seen a lot of kind of different. We've seen a couple of different takes on punk strategy. I think what you were referring to there, if I'm not mistaken, was wait, we saw punk strategy. We saw someone do strategy punk, and then did we not also see what was it? Punk. I saw a tweet the other day. I forget what it's called. The token, Punk Reserve, maybe. essentially it's this. It's kind of what you were talking about, where it's kind of like building. It's kind of like taking Punk strategy and the current strategy tokens and tweaking them slightly. I actually think I'm going to send this back to you, but do you feel like strategy tokens, obviously, it's going to become this big thing? We feel like, with the new platform coming out, that they're going to launch a lot more strategy tokens, or anyone's going to be able to launch a strategy token. What's your take on the alternative spin-offs of Punk strategy? Like we've seen,
like they've done with Checks, and like they've done with Goblin Town, and like they've done with different. Yeah, I think it's clever. I think it's I think
names for it.
He's done it with the Nakamoto NFT, hasn't he? So he's done an ERC20, and then he's done an ERC20 on an ERC20 with Rect. I think what he's actually doing is very clever because he's experimenting. So he maybe sometime in the future he could scale those products out to like an ecosystem-wide thing. Whereas a whole bunch of us are sat here thinking, well, why is he doing these little things? But he's obviously got some advice to say, listen, experiment on this now.
Yeah.
So maybe later down the line you can scale this up. And then at least you've got the learning in the early stages. If something goes wrong when there's 1,000 NFT projects or I don't know, 2,000 different ecosystems, it's much more of a problem. So I think, kind of testing these things now, and also making it bespoke, because founders want different things. I mean, we've seen with Wowster that they didn't want the value accrual going back to Punk strategy. They actually wanted it ring fence in their community, and more to them. That's their choice. So there's got to be some bespoke element to it.
Yes, yeah. I was just wondering when it's going to hit the tipping point, and the wider crypto community and some of the big voices start to get hold of this. As a part of me, all the people I'm following, for example, on YouTube, and really like, I keep wanting to shill TokenWorks as if I actually own it. But
well, I was saying we to, who was I saying we to the other day? I was Hemdog. I was having a chat with him. I was like, yeah, well, when we buy the next CryptoPunk in the protocol, I'm like, hold on a second, you don't own shit, mate. Like,
I know. When we get listed on Binance, who do I think I am? But there's that element, that attachment.
Correct. Now you feel a part of something, whereas before I couldn't have felt a part of CryptoPunks. Now I get to be a part of a community at a lower entry, and I get to speculate in the price appreciation of an asset that I think is just going to keep increasing. But yeah, so I cut you off there, Simon.
No. I'll be interested to see, because I'm sure they're thinking about this. Adam must be having lots of discussions around. Not only we're going to have this new platform, but what are we going to do to raise the profile of TokenWorks? What are we going to do to start engaging the wider crypto market? Because there's a lot of degens out there. There's a lot, there's a lot of people who will be jumping on this. I'm just intrigued by that. How will they go about it? When will they do it? What will that look like?
That'll be interesting. We just had Chris drop a comment. Chris, I think it's vote juggling. I think the NFT project makes the strategy token then. Hold on, let me put it up here. I think the NFT project makes the strategy token their native token. It has more of an upside.
So he's talking about Vibe, like maybe he was commenting on what we were talking about earlier, Vibe strategy and Chimp strategy. The clearest difference between that and the other ones is they've made it their native token, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think the ones that have leaned into this really early are gonna reap the benefit, because I think another train of thinking, and I had this with NFTs, is that the demand doesn't necessarily hold if you have a whole bunch of new projects, unless the NFT projects can give their NFT holders the education around the tokens. But then also a lot of them are down a lot, and going back to Chris Beniski's thing or Raoul Powell's view is that people need to be in profit to rotate into other things. And I think what I liked about the early stages of this punk strategy is you need that healthy ecosystem of traders trying to arbitrage it, because it was giving the NFT projects that kind of shot in the arm. You know, Good Vibes Club had 650 NFTs bought. It became its largest holder overnight.
Yes,
and I think
absolutely.
Those, you know, 5,000 wallet addresses, that new blood that's going into these NFT projects, giving it that shot in the arm, I think was healthy, because it fed the NFT ecosystem. Now you've got a whole bunch of supply that's not necessarily off the market, it's relisted, but now a mechanism to kind of get them on their way. That kind of
I agree. And you know, I was as well is that the future strategy tokens that come out when the new platform's up and running, what will I be as someone who might want to look at investing a few? The acid test will be, how is the team embracing the token, how they're using it, how they're connecting it with their community. It almost becomes a bit of a reflection of them and their whole overall strategy beyond token works. You know, what I liked about what WoW did was, whether you like it or not, they took hold of it, they went with it, they embraced it, they engaged it, they used a good team behind them to do what they needed to do. And it's when you embrace something, you take action, is the important thing.
Yeah, and I mean, also the thing I didn't know about it was that they would have to launch with all the other projects, and I think actually separating yourself as a premium NFT project is actually the way to go. I think if you launch with a whole bunch of others, and then it becomes a bit of a dogfight for attention, I think that becomes a problem. And you know, whilst I think if they could have launched pre-Token Works new website or whatever, I think it would have been majorly successful for them.
Agreed. And actually, anyone who does it now, if they're going to do it, I think they have to really go for it. They have to really embrace it. If they just say, should we just put it out there and see what happens?
Yeah, it's not.
People are, you know, it's too competitive. It's going to become. So they'll need to really, you know, go for it.
Guys, we're kind of coming to the end of the call here. Obviously, we've been on for an hour and nearly 30 minutes.
It's fantastic we kept to our hour again, isn't it? Every week.
We're changing goalposts. We're segueing left, right, and centre. But I hope you guys have enjoyed the show. I just want to end quickly on. Obviously, we've seen the token work stuff do well. Interest rates now, it looks like the Fed have done a bit of a pivot on interest rates. So we've seen some relief in Bitcoin, which has a knock-on effect with some of these alt assets. Where do you think we kind of head into December? Do you think we have a bit of a rally, or kind of going into the new year? How are you feeling about things short term? I know both of you are kind of long term and in it, you know, in perpetuity. But you got any thoughts on where we go from here?
I was really surprised to hear about that kind of pivot, because I thought we were almost locked in on Fed cutting rates for the next. Well, they did it 1 month, and then I thought they were going to do it. I thought it was guaranteed that we were going to get those two. And so the pivot is interesting, but that wasn't the only bullish signal. There was a lot of bullish signals that were coming. I mean, notably one of them just being the sheer number of airdrops that's on the way. And I think we've started to have a few of these airdrops, and I'm not sure how well they've gone. I know Monad was one of the airdrops. It hasn't performed super strongly as a token. But that being said, it had a down. It went down a bit, and now it's started to go back up a little bit. So the number of airdrops is another bullish signal for the crypto and NFT space. I think there's definitely a bit of uncertainty. It's kind of like it feels like it's on a knife edge. A lot of people, at least that's what it feels like. The timeline, or the people that are watching, they feel like they're on a knife edge. Like it only has to start going one direction, and then it's gonna run whether it's down or up. My take is, regardless of what people think, I think we're going to have a much stronger. We're going to have a recovery over the next 3 months.
Yeah.
But as we said before, it's a guessing game at the end of the day, and you don't. I would never say that with absolute certainty, because you just don't know with these things. There's so much that can change. I would say, the political climate in the US, which tends to influence a lot of the markets that we're involved in, seems like it's kind of cooled down a little bit, I would say.
I think that's a good point.
Because of October, we were talking about, trade war with China, all types of things.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't even really tweet about it because it wasn't a clickbait headline. But Trump and Xi Jinping did meet, and I feel like things have started to cool down.
It's
the
funny
government
you mentioned.
reopened, didn't it?
It's funny you mentioned the political climate. I think a good way to kind of capture what is actually happening in politics is to follow people. And he put, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. He put,
no, I didn't.
Who's the new New York mayor, the new guy?
Mamdani.
He's very left leaning. And obviously they've kind of made up and kissed or whatever. But people put this post up, which is obviously gone viral, but I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. But it's got Mamdani. It's got Mamdani sat on Donald Trump's lap, and then it's got JD Vance behind the curtain.
I never saw him behind the curtain. Actually.
No, it's got him. It's obviously got that meme of him with the big face and JD Vance behind the curtain smiling, which is so.
I love that.
Like he just captures culture brilliantly. I'll just end with you then, Simon.
No, I was just going to echo what Burge said. It's cautiously feeling optimistic, and I think things are going to shift and change, but anything could happen. What I was going to say, to final thought, was regardless of the wider crypto market doing its thing, I'm really feeling good about NFTs. The teams I have, rooting for, I think they're doing some really, I always come back to this, real tangible things, and it's exciting. And they're reaching out to where Web 2 is instead of expecting it to come to them. Whether it's the other side, Chimpers, Clainosaurs, all Veefriends, they're trying to meet people where they are and not expect them to be sort of, completely overwhelmed by the beauty and brilliance of Web3. Come and see us. We're a fantastic, magical place. No, we've got to come out to you practically. And I do like to see that movement. For example, Chimpers and Fugglers doing their collaboration at the moment. These are real things.
Yeah.
They are happening. So yeah, I'm very much more excited now about NFTs.
Love that.
Right now.
No, I love that. And actually just talking about meeting people where they are, myself, Burge and Simon, well, I haven't actually spoken to Simon about it, but he's in. We're doing we're going to be doing a lot of meetups in the UK. I know Simon, you do like your meetups and stuff like that. But this weekend, not this weekend, the 2nd of December, what date is that? Because that's the World of Women meetup in London.
Something.
Yeah, so that's Tuesday. We're going to be in London
next week.
At the World of Women meetup. So if there's anyone there that kind of watches the show or whatever, wants to dive in, we're going to try and do more of this sort of stuff because the meetups, I think, is an important thing. Because nothing beats boots on the ground and actually meeting people in person, which is which is great. Guys, we're going to end it there. We've been here for an hour and a half. Folks, to anyone who's kind of tuned in, really appreciate it. If you want to watch the recording, you can watch it on YouTube, the Carrot Lane YouTube channel. And obviously, if you want any of the written content, it's just on carrotlane.com. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. Until next Wednesday, we will see you then. Anyway.
Yes.
Cheers, Burge. Thanks, Simon. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. See you.
Cheers, guys. Bye.